I'm now 36, and these are the 9 nutrition cheat codes that I wish I knew when I was 26. Before I became a dietitian, I thought that the results would only come after working super hard. Right, I would ride my bike to and from the gym 7 days a week. I would be so strict on a diet, I was pretty much starving myself, cutting out all sugar and anything fun. Now I know that it's about building systems around your nutrition that make it easy to stay consistent over time. So let's dive into the 9 nutrition cheat codes that I wish I knew a decade earlier. Number 1, quit drinking. Like most, I used alcohol as almost a social lubricant, right? Have a few drinks, really take the edge off, relax me, and I could kind of enjoy, being in these social settings. But I noticed that it always set me back every time I drank. What I noticed was unnecessary calories. I would have a much harder time managing my weight or managing my body fat and body composition when I drank alcohol. I also noticed that I had really slow recovery. So if I trained the day before or the day that I went out and drank, that night when I got a bad night's sleep, I wouldn't be nearly as recovered as if I didn't drink that day. And finally, it just completely disrupted my routine. I would, go out on Saturday, have a few drinks with some friends, wake up late on Sunday, not meal prep, not get myself ready for the rest of the week. So it really disrupted my routine. Now, when I stopped drinking alcohol, all these things cleared up. I wasn't having the unnecessary calories coming in. I wasn't dealing with that slow recovery, and I wasn't dealing with kind of this disruption every single weekend where I'd go out and drink, and then I'd have a day where I need to recover. Go out and drink, have a day where I needed to recover. So all these things combined made it much easier for me to stay consistent with my nutrition, which then that domino fell and I was able to manage my body fat easier. I was able to recover and have better performance in the gym. My mental clarity and energy were higher. So overall, I think quitting drinking in my early 30s was probably one of the biggest nutrition cheat codes that I've found so far. Number 2, get good sleep. You might be asking yourself, why is sleep a nutrition cheat code? Well, I'm going to explain it to you by explaining what happens when you don't get a good night's sleep. There are a few things. First, your food drive goes up. Your desire to go seek out high calorie, really tasty foods is going to really increase when you're sleep deprived, which is going to make it really challenging to stay within your calorie budget, which is also going to make it challenging to manage your weight or body composition. Also, being sleep deprived is really going to impact your recovery. Let's say you go work out the day before, you get a bad night's sleep. The next few days are probably going to be pretty miserable because you just didn't have the recovery that you needed when you went out and trained. Finally, your decision-making ability is going to be poor, to say the least. And my example here is, right, you get a bad night's sleep, you go to work, you get off work, you had this plan to have a healthy dinner, lean protein, you got some veggies, you had a healthy carb that had a lot of fiber in there, and you're gonna go to the gym or play pickleball after work. The chances of you doing that are probably slim to none, right? You're probably gonna wanna say, hey, I'm gonna hit that fast food joint on the way home, and I'm gonna plop my butt right in front of the couch and watch Netflix the rest of the night. Because you're tired, right? You don't have the gas to go out and do that. Now, I think in our 20s, we could all get away with a few 4 to 5 hour nights of sleep because we're all made out of rubber bands and super glue, I swear. But now that I'm in my 30s, I've come to the realization that's just not the case anymore. And to be completely honest with you, there is nothing like a great night's sleep. Hunger is controlled, recovery is on point, performance and mental clarity is on point, like everything improves. What helped me develop a solid sleep routine, there are a few key things. Number 1, having a completely blacked out room. I've got 2 sets of curtains, a set of blinds, and I still wear an eye mask cover to make sure no light is creeping in. I also try and make sure that it is as quiet as possible. I do live in a duplex, so it's not always, super quiet at night. So for that reason, I'll wear some earplugs. And finally, I just make sure that my room is at a cool temp, somewhere in the range of like 67 degrees. And this routine has made sure that I get a great night's sleep. Fixing your sleep is like unlocking a 10% progress without having to change the nutrition or the training. Number 3, focus on fiber. I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was growing up, especially in my 20s, I was a total protein bro. It was high protein everything and low everything else. And to be frank with you, I had some gut issues. I dealt with terrible gas and I really struggled with constipation. It was not a fun time. And when you have gut issues, it impacts everything else. It makes it really hard to be present, happy, grateful in any endeavor that you're in your life when you have something wrong with your belly. This forced me to kind of reanalyze my diet. And sure enough, I wasn't getting enough fiber. So I started reading nutrition facts label. I started including whole grains, nuts, seeds, more vegetables, fruits, things that had more fiber in them. And sure enough, a lot of my gut issues were resolved. And not only were they resolved, but what I noticed was by increasing my overall fiber intake, I was able to manage my hunger better. I was able to stay fuller for longer. And of course, the really big benefit was I was no longer having these digestive or gut issues. Number 4, track your food. It wasn't until my early 30s that I really started to take tracking my food seriously. Before then, I was probably just like everyone else, where I was like, this takes too much time, it's annoying, it gets in the way, I do not want to do this. But once I started tracking my food consistently, I really started to understand what was going on. There was a really especially eye-opening event where I started to track my food and I saw how many calories I could consume, especially when I was leaning on or consuming more of the highly processed foods like fast food or candy, sweets, sodas. It was just so easy to consume 3, 4, 5,000 calories without even blinking an eye, and I was still hungry. So what tracking really provided me was the awareness, right? And with that awareness, I could make the change on the back end. I could say, hey, track my food. Looks like I'm already at 2,500 calories. We need to make sure that this last meal fits within the budget, right? I could change my behaviors around to make sure I was aligning with my goal and purpose. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. At first, yes, it was annoying, but after doing it for years consistently, I can say that it's become almost second nature. It's not so in the way, if you will. Number 5, limit processed foods. When I'm not planned, prepared, grocery shopped, have my lunches packed, I'm forced to rely on convenience foods or fast foods. Right? This is all caused because I wasn't planned and prepared. And that's because in America, it's really easy to find simple calories that don't provide you with a ton of overall nutritional value. But in order to have a diet that does provide you with a good nutrition profile, that takes some effort, that takes some planning. And when I do take that effort and take that planning seriously, take my diet quality seriously, my body composition is not that hard to maintain. My energy levels are through the roof. My performance is way better. My gym sessions are a night and day difference. Now, I will say, I'm not a robot. I don't eat like that all the time, even though I am a dietitian, right? I kind of look at these as two camps, right? You got this processed food camp and you got this kind of real or whole food camp, right? One being kind of a functional, right? This is providing your body with all the nutrition that it needs, the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals. And you have this other fun camp, which we don't want to rely on it, but we don't also have to cut it completely out. And the example that I'll give you here is, right, let's say you get done playing with your amateur league softball team and you guys are going to have pizza and hot dogs after your game, right? And you do that once every 2 weeks, not a problem, right? The problem lies when it becomes a pattern, right? When we are consistently having to rely on these convenience foods in order to meet our nutritional needs, that's where it becomes more of a problem. Number 6, diet quality. You are what you eat. So you try and lose weight by skipping breakfast, having a light lunch, then saving all your calories for dinner, but by the time that rolls around, you are exhausted, you're hungry, and all you want is something that is super quick and easy to throw together. This is a pattern that I noticed, and in this pattern, I noticed really poor energy levels, right? I wasn't eating that much throughout the day. I also noticed I had a really hard time controlling my cravings, and I tended to overeat, especially later on in the day. Both of these things combined really made it hard for me not to gain weight. Once I stopped focusing on this idea of restricting how much I was eating, and I transitioned that to focused on the quality of my overall diet, everything changed. I began to ask myself, what were the nutrients that my body needed? Now, each meal is an opportunity to fuel and nourish myself. Lean proteins for strength and recovery, making sure I'm focused on fruits and vegetables to make sure I'm getting antioxidants, fiber, healthy sources of carbohydrates, whole grains for fiber and sustained energy, and healthy fats for good hormone production. When I focused on building meals around food quality, my mood, my hunger, and my energy levels all stabilized. Your diet isn't just about how much you eat. It's about the foods that you choose to eat most of the time. Quality foods give your body the raw materials that it needs to perform, recover, and feel good. 7, meal timing and hunger control. So let's talk about meal timing. It's not just about the overall calories that you eat, but it's about managing your hunger before it manages you. When you skip a meal or go too long without a meal, there are several things that happen, but one of the key things is your blood sugar drops. And when that happens, right, your mood, your energy levels are both gonna tank, and your cravings are gonna go through the roof. You're gonna want something that is quick, easy. It's usually gonna be something ultra processed. The simple fix here is focus on having something, a meal, every 3 to 5 hours. When you do have a meal, you have a meal that has protein, fiber, healthy fats, and some carbohydrates. That combo keeps your energy levels sustained, and it's gonna curb some of those cravings that are gonna creep in if you don't have a meal. And in all honesty, when you stay ahead of your hunger, you can just make a better decision for that next meal. You feel more in control. You oftentimes choose better food quality, and you stop that late night fridge or cabinet hunt for food. Number 8, stop eating a few hours before bed. Eating before bed can delay your body's ability to actually not only fall asleep, but get into that deep REM sleep that your body needs to recover. I'm guilty as charged. I've done it on several occasions where I eat right up until bed, try and lay down, really uncomfortable, and just have a terrible night's sleep. Then wake up that next morning, groggy, not super motivated, just tired, and like I got a bad night's sleep. When I strategically stopped eating a few hours before bed, I saw a dramatic increase in my overall sleep quality. And therefore, that domino fell, so my energy levels improved, my mood improved, my motivation was higher, my food choice and my decision-making ability was better. So just this one small habit of switching from eating later in the evening to making an intentional decision not to eat super late in the evening, it was a game changer. Number 9, don't leave it up to chance. You're not accidentally gonna start eating 150 grams of protein or eating enough fiber or eating a healthy diet for that matter. You have to be very intentional about making sure that you're meeting all your body's nutritional needs. For me, Sunday, I use it as a reset day where I will, grocery shop, meal plan, meal prep. I'll do a few things that my future self will thank me for. If you think you don't have time, let's do the math. If you just do it for one meal, let's talk lunch, where you go out to eat for lunch every single day. You have to make that decision of where you're gonna go eat. You have to drive to go pick up that food. You have to then go home or go back to work and actually eat that food, right? That all takes time, effort, willpower. By being prepared, by having a plan, by knowing where you're going, not only do you meet your nutritional needs, but more often than not, you can align with the physique, health goals that you have as well. Preparation removes any friction. And honestly, it is the biggest cheat code that makes all these other things happen. If you take anything away from this, remember this: simple works. These 9 cheat codes are not quick fixes. They are habits built to last. Start with one, build some momentum and some consistency, because 10 years from now, you're going to wish that you started today.